Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Redemus Maximus,
This is Jay Lovecraft.
I'm your Star Queen.
and this is 8 Bits and Dice Rolls Podcast.
Yay!
So welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. Like I said in the last episode, I hope you were able to check out the LARPing vlog. It's a fun time. Jay Lovecraft just got to watch a little chunk of it there since he wasn't able to join us.
That was a very nice chunk, mind you, because I had some very important business to take care of on that day, so it was rather unavoidable.
Yeah, well, we were also talking about how you were just completely delve into your books and probably just swam out of them.
Yes.
Oh, yes. You know that age-old saying from The Godfather, once they get out, they pull me back in.
Yeah, every time.
Well, why don't you say where you were on that day where we went to LARP, since you had a very fun time elsewhere. Also outdoors as well. It was outdoors, right?
Oh, yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, ladies and gentlemen. This was I've had so far one of the most fun Augusts of my life, and this is not a joke. I've experienced a 25th wedding anniversary. Yeah, that was absolutely fun with my dearly beloved wife. I'm married to the same girl. Love you, honey.
And congratulations on that.
Congratulations on your anniversary.
Yeah, thank you very much, because nowadays, 25 years being married, it's now considered a feat, you know.
It
It's
is.
unheard of, yeah.
Yeah. I mean, a lot of people are lucky if they even make it 3 years at this point.
Yeah.
Yeah,
No
so
kidding.
that's great. And also, happy belated birthday.
That's
Thank
true,
you.
yes.
Thank
Happy
you.
birthday.
Thank you. I am now officially 5,300 years old.
Level 5,300.
Oh, yeah. Okay. Level 5,300.
Yeah, we don't age, we level.
This is
That's
true.
the big deal.
This is true.
Yeah.
This is true.
So obviously, you know, we had that going on. We had the LARP stuff going on, but there were a few other topics that were really, really big that happened.
Yes.
Oh, yes.
Starting with
Gen
Gen Con.
Yeah. So I unfortunately didn't get to go due to a death in the family, but you two did.
Oh,
Yes.
yeah.
Yes. So tell me about it. You know?
Oh, man.
So do we want to start from the beginning of the day and then just go onward? Because at one point our paths kind of diverge a little bit, come back together and then diverge again.
Yeah, my day started at 5:30 a.m. at the crack of dawn, and I'm like, yeah, Gen Con, let's go.
Yeah.
Yeah, and then I rolled out of bed because I'm the forever driver. So well, actually, talk about shenanigans. So for conventions, typically I like to use an app called Spot Hero, right? And the idea was that I got a spot over at the Marriott Hotel, which is supposed to be a 2-minute walk from Gen Con, which I'd say is about accurate.
Yep.
However, when we got there, the Marriott parking garage was full, so I didn't get that spot. And so I got a little bit mad at Spot Hero there because I lost some money on that. But thankfully, we were able to get parked over at the State Museum.
And interestingly enough, we got out scot-free, didn't we?
Yes, I think that's a thing that they have on weekends though, where if you park and you leave, I think it's after 6, you're just allowed to leave like for free because you've been there like all day long.
Yep.
So
And believe you me, time pays for itself at Gen Con.
that's true, because I was in the dealer hall. I timed it for about 6 hours and I did not feel that like at all, and I felt like I barely scratched the surface.
That's right.
Well, and that's kind of why Gen Con needs multiple days, right? 'Cause,
Yes.
Yeah, there's so much stuff just
4
in
days.
Yeah, just for one day dedicated to shopping, and then you have your other events and the other ones, right? So
Oh, yeah.
Well, I actually got into an event first thing in the morning. Jay Lovecraft and I like to joke that I basically went to DM school.
Yeah, she did. I dropped her off, kids.
So this was actually run by, I believe the name is... So it was run by a group called Bringing Fire, and they are actually a bunch of software developers that are currently working on some support software for Dungeons and Dragons. So I think kind of like World Anvil, except with a couple extra bits and bobs thrown in there for like NPC trackers and stuff like that. However, they are also trying to make an academy for people who have never really run Dungeons and Dragons games, or even just any games. So I brought up that I wanted to run Transformers, but there were people in the room with me who were wanting to run Pathfinder. I believe some guy was wanting to run Seven Seas. So it wasn't just exclusively tailored to Dungeons and Dragons, but the way we spent the morning essentially was we had tables. We were put into tables, and between all of us, had to come up with a dungeon. And we were given just a basic map, and we were given some prompts. And we just had to fill out the prompts, and every single person, well, I should say every single table, came up with a completely different dungeon, which was really interesting because of just how far they deviated. And so for example, my table, the dungeon that we ended up dungeon storming is what they called it, there was a tower on a hill, and the hill had a bunch of caves underneath it. Well, a long time ago, there used to be a wizard that lived in that tower, because wizards are just obsessed with towers, and he was experimenting with dimensional doorways and paths and keys. Well, one day, he managed to get a door to a dimension to open. However, something went wrong and the tower was struck by lightning, and with an energy surge, the door exploded.
Ouch.
Which created the cave system underneath it. And the wizard was destroyed in the process. However, the door was survived and remained open. So now all of this magical energy that came from this dimension was now leaking out into the tower and into the surrounding lands.
That'll take a lot of picker-upper,
Yeah, no kidding.
Now, when you see an empty cave, typically you think there's this kind of a monster in there, right? So in our cave system, one day a cave troll looked at that cave and went, ooh, free real estate, and decided to move in. Now that cave troll then wandered about the caves, found his way up into the wizard's tower, found the wizard's robes and hat and put them on, and thinks that he is the wizard now.
Oh boy.
And he was our final boss. I believe his name was Numbskull the Magnificent.
Makes sense.
Yes. So his name is Numbskull the Magnificent, or Numbskull the Clever, or some kind of paradoxical name like that. He kept giving himself titles. And we made the way you get into the wizard tower was each room in the cave was a different season. So one room was winter, one was autumn, one was summer, one was spring. As a group, we then took turns. So we just made basic characters, and for example, like my character was Smart Sorcerer, and anytime, because this was just like a speed run of a game, anytime a role came up with something to do with your adjective or your noun, so like for example, if something was magic, or if something required like an intelligence roll, you would get 2 dice instead of the 1 dice that you would regularly roll. So it was a really quick, almost like speed run D&D game, like Dungeon Master crash course, and it was really interesting because we also got points as DMs as we went through. Like for example, if the players were struggling on a puzzle, for example, there was a point in time where the GM that went before me, we started to struggle on a puzzle, then it switched to me. And so there was a point that you could get where if your players were struggling, you could basically throw them a bone or try to just slightly change the puzzle on the fly. So that way you're still keeping true to what the instruction was. However, you're putting your own spin on it and you're making the game move forward too.
Oh, wow.
So yeah, there was a lot of skill involved with it, but the longer it went on, I felt very confident by the end of it.
Good.
And that's honestly what launched me into wanting to write Transformers immediately, and more so after Worlds Collide happened that night.
Oh, awesome.
Yeah. But that was, while I was doing that, Mr. Lovecraft, you hit the floor, didn't you?
Oh, yes, I did. I hit the floor running, folks. Believe you me, it was like I am in the great wizard's keep of the great dealer's room. Yes, I was at the dealer's room. I was at Lucas Oil Stadium, and believe you me, folks and friends, I had a blast. And I come to discover I met one of my favorite heroes. His name was Mike Pondsmith, the inventor of Cyberpunk.
I heard about this.
Yes, I met him. He was a kind gentleman, and believe me, when I asked for his autograph, he gave it to me.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah, I was just on cloud 9, cloud 10, and cloud 11. I was like, I didn't want to go all full-blown fanboy on him when I asked him. I always wanted to meet a legend like you. And he hands me a business card with his email on it. And he said,
oh, nice.
Yeah, when he said, quote, if you meet another legend, please let me know.
Okay.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, so he signed whatever book I gave him, and I was like, Yes.
That's amazing.
You were talking about the Alien franchise with him, didn't you, as
Oh,
well?
yes.
And how Cyberpunk is kind of inspired by the Alien movies.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. Tell me about that, because I heard a little bit about that, and that was the big interest for me.
Yeah, you see, the funny part was I just wanted to pick a topic of interest for us to talk about, right? What's your favorite movie? I didn't think of anything else. So basically, he gone off on one particular movie, and that was Alien. And I was like, okay, no, wait a minute. There's no cyborgs in it. There's nothing that says neon lights and all that. And he said, no, John, it's H.R. Geiger's work.
Okay. Yeah. Makes sense.
Yeah, because the alien, when you really look at him, he's all metal.
Yeah.
There's nothing biological about it because he's all metal on the outside. It's all organic. Kind of like pre-Borg, if you will.
I don't think I ever noticed that before, but now you say it, now that's all I can think about.
Yeah, there is no bone. It's all metal.
Interesting.
Yeah, including the lovely hydraulic jaws from coming out inside of the thing. And of course, there's always the metal teeth from the xenomorph. And he said, that was the inspiration. What if human beings were like this? I was like, oh.
Dang. Okay. Well, that makes Cyberpunk just a little bit cooler.
Yeah, he even put in the list of what films to watch for if you're ever into Cyberpunk. And the first maybe about 2 listings after that is Alien and Aliens.
Okay.
And I said to myself, really? And he picks up a copy of Cyberpunk Red, shows me the page, and blammo, there it was, plain as day. And I was like, yeah, I know what movies I'm going to be watching when I get home.
Yeah, no kidding. Well, those are classics anyway.
Oh, yeah. And second of all, I met another living legend because I want to give a big shout out to a guy by the name of Jeff McAleer from the Gaming Gang. Now, check his show out. He's out of Chicago, Illinois. He's down to earth, nice gentleman. He does game reviews. He does short stories. And believe you me, friends, he's worth your time and listen out there outside and us. I want to give a big shout out and a thank you, Mr. Jeff McAleer. I hope you're listening.
Yeah, and we are in no way, shape, or form sponsored by him at all, but that's
No.
just a channel that, Mr. Lovecraft has found. And, that's kind of the big thing about a lot of this topics. We're all nerds for something, right?
Oh, God, yes.
So we all have to kind of stick together and just band together over some really cool stuff. And, it's cool to talk about other channels, even if it's just like, it might be like a competition thing, but it's like a friendly competition, if that makes sense, right? Like, obviously, we want us to be really good as a channel, but we also need to support other people that have also, wanted to go out on this venture too.
There was a lot of content creators at Gen Con.
Oh man, there was so many. I mean, I couldn't even begin to list half of them simply because they were just doing what they do best, just like what we're doing.
Yeah, exactly. Well, and there was a gentleman that I randomly saw on YouTube. I came across when I was looking for videos of like each one. They had like a day 1, day 2, day 3, day 4 type deal. I found a gentleman that actually I think is really entertaining, and I think you guys should check him out as well. He goes by House Hedge Gaming. I know a lot of people have ran into him, especially when playing Lorcana and a couple other games and all that. Didn't get a chance to officially meet him at the con, but you should definitely check out his con stuff on his page. Again, it's Hedge House Gaming on YouTube, and the guy's super nice. Again, shout out to him as well.
I mean, I went to Art Hallsorian. I went to Lucas Oil Stadium to view a couple D&D games, just a few. I was even invited to come to a vampire game, but yet, to be honest with you, I value my friendship over any game, pure and simple. So therefore, I just waited up for our lovely Star Queen, pure and simple, just for her to get out of a game, and then we can go on our merry little way.
So after my first event of the morning, we met up again, and we actually met up with some friends of mine from Discord. And one of them I'd actually met before, the other one I'd never met before. And if I had a nickel for every LARPing pirate that I knew, I would have 2 nickels, which is not much, but really weird that it happened twice.
That's 10 cents.
Oh
You
yeah.
have 10 cents. because that's me. It's 1 5 cent.
Yes. And well, I have a funny story about this actually too. On the Discord, we were chatting and we were thinking like, how are we going to know who we are? Like, we've never really seen each other's face before. Now, I'd actually seen one of their faces before because we met up at Gen Con previously. So one of them told me, well, hey, you have your toys, don't you? Why don't you just like bring a Starscream and just hold them up?
And that was so odd.
It was the oddest thing I've ever done, but you know what? It worked.
I mean, sometimes you got to.
Because, well, I mean, who else was gonna be having a Starscream in their backpack that they could hold up over this huge crowd of people and not...
And I'm trying not to dying laughing.
I know, and I kept telling you to shut up.
I don't know why that makes me think of Turbo Man. Turbo Man.
That was pretty much what it was like, actually,
Yeah.
because we were in a crowd. We were by the Gen Con merch booth, so the official Gen Con merch booth itself, and there was a little bit of a crowd. And then I just held up my Starscream, and I got a lot of looks. But
Oh, yeah, you did.
Well, I mean, honestly, at least in the reference to the con itself, and we'll get to this point in a second, but at least it made sense. You know what I mean?
Yes, it did. And later that night, I did actually take him out when I got into Renegade's Worlds Collide game. And I did get kind of like, oh, that's so cool, you brought your Starscream, like at the table. So
Now, going back to the whole Jingle All the Way thing, you didn't, when you found your friend, you didn't rocket punch them in the nuts, did you? And go, ta-ta, Turbo Man.
no, I did not do that.
Okay, good.
Instead, we kind of got led around the dealer's hall by them.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. And so there were some shenanigans that were going on in the dealer's hall. One with Marvel first.
Oh, boy.
Yeah, so let's talk about this. So the Marvel RPG is now out.
I love it.
And what's it called?
It's just called the Marvel role-playing game. There's no special title or anything.
Actually, it's titled The Marvel Multiverse
That's it.
Role-Playing Game by Marvel.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was something that kept tripping us up because we kept looking for a publisher name. We were thinking like, oh, Renegade, Wizards, and we were like, who's it published by? And we were just like, I don't know. We couldn't find a publisher. Turns out Marvel is self-publishing it, weirdly enough. And it was such a last minute thing, I guess, for them that they didn't get onto the program.
Well, the issue was and is, I was looking for this genuine book.
We both were.
And the funny part was, I found one woman who was having 2 copies in her hand. And I was like, excuse me, ma'am, where did you find this book specifically? Oh, she said, it's somewhere between 2,600 and 2,700. Okay, so I went there. And if you didn't know what you were looking for, you have missed it entirely.
Really? So
There was
just kind of a hidden treasure type
There was
deal?
no banner. There was no table advertisement. They weren't on the program. They weren't on the leaflet map. Nothing.
Weird.
And,
Yeah.
and here's the scary part. It's about as wide as your average coffee table. It could fit only 3 people in that booth, and that was it.
That's so strange.
Yeah.
Especially for Marvel. I mean, they're literally everywhere and they have 1,000 things posted and done. So,
Yeah, and there was this gentleman who is the author of this book, was the only guy in that entire booth, and he was selling these books like hotcakes and trying to sell the dice as well.
and it was Marvel?
Marvel. And I'm
Interesting.
thinking, okay, Marvel doesn't do anything small, and yet they're in this
Yeah.
cookie cutter booth.
It was really weird as well because it wasn't like Marvel didn't have other presence at the con through other companies. Like, for example, Atomic Mass Games was there with Marvel Crisis Protocol. There
Yes.
was Simon Games as well was there with Zombicide and Ankh and all of their miniature games. But for some reason, even though the Marvel role-playing game was pitched as one of the go-getter things for Gen Con. It was really bizarre how that was handled.
Meanwhile, on the complete opposite side, you had Lorcana from Disney.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, there's a conspiracy going around about that now.
So please enlighten me, because I could not get a single fucking card from that game.
No.
Okay, so initially what happened was on day one, there was a stampede of people for the Lorcana line. And I believe a journalist actually ended up getting injured along with some people in the ADA line, and someone's wheelchair was tipped over. So after that, Gen Con themselves stepped in and they said, oh, no, we ain't doing this like this. So instead what they did was they allowed people to wait for 16 hours. And they said, this is the line. They had people marking out the line. The line went out the door as well. And they only allowed the game to be sold from, I believe it was 6 a.m. to 1 p.m.
Oh my God.
Yes. Yeah. If you miss that cutoff time, then you're going to have to wait in line for 16 hours.
Wow.
Yes. So after that happened, people didn't really know who to blame. Some people thought it was Ravensburger's fault, the actual company that made Lorcana. Some people thought it was Gen Con's fault for not having enough crowd control. I personally think there was a little bit of blame towards the fans as well. I don't want to say I feel like Lorcana got overhyped, but I think a lot of people took the whole magic killer thing a little too literally. And some of the aftermarket prices on that card game is insane as well. I've been seeing
like $400
$500
Oh, no.
promo cards.
I got one for you better. I was getting a glass of wine out with the food trucks.
Okay.
Amazing food trucks, by the way.
Yeah.
I was getting a glass of wine. Kid comes up to me. Check this out. He was selling his Mickey Mouse card for $500.
Yeah.
Yep.
I'm like, get the fuck out of here.
Yeah, it's because a lot of this is turning into FOMO, so fear of missing out, which that's the perfect game to jump on.
Which was really bizarre because at that point in time, Lorcana was going to come out in 2 weeks. Now, I had a thing over at the Renegade booth where they had items that weren't due out until December.
Renegade.
So when we were over there, and while Mr. Lovecraft was glued to the $200 Book of Nod Collector's Edition case, while he was there, I was with my other two friends, and they had the Decepticon Directive Transformers role-playing book. They had the Time Is Now, which is the first adventure module for Transformers. And they also had, for the deck building game, the Clash of the Combiners, which Clash of the Combiners was the big shock because that was not due out until December. Nobody even thought that we were going to see this thing in actual product images at least until October, November.
Yeah, so I mean, it's on most websites, it's still not even showing as available at all.
No.
So that must have been a Gen Con almost exclusive, like a couple months early type deal.
Decepticon Directive is the same way. They haven't even mailed out the PDFs for those things yet.
You know what they did the same thing with the Cobra Codex for G.I. Joe RPG?
I remember you saying that too, yeah.
You know, and the funny part is, I sent away for my copy of the PDF. It hasn't even come yet. I was like, okay, I'll wait.
Yeah, and we actually got some announcements there at Gen Con for more crossover games. So we have G.I. Joe Axis and Allies coming.
Which I'm actually pretty excited for that one because I loved Axis and Allies growing up.
I remember back in the day at college when a bunch of us got together, pizzas, beer up to the ceiling, and it was Axis and Allies between 5 to 6 guys.
Yeah. Well, a old friend of mine from high school, so his dad used to be in the Navy, and he was like a submarinist, and he was telling us a time when he was like, younger too, they somehow were able to magnetize the Axis and Allies board to the side of the plank. Yeah. So as they were passing through on their routines, they would play. And that's how they would do it. Yeah, it's actually pretty cool.
That's smart.
Speaking of cool Axis and Allies boards, the World Championship that was played there, the board that they played on, that the finalists played on, was made of actual wood.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, the photos of that are absolutely gorgeous. This thing looks like It almost looks like an antique from like Indiana Jones or something.
Dang, that's
Oh,
pretty
wow.
cool.
Yeah, it was really cool. I didn't get to see it in person, but I did see it in photos from Renegade's Discord, and it looked absolutely gorgeous. So
interesting.
we are getting Axis and Allies crossover with G.I. Joe, and I
Yes.
think the name of the game is called Battle for the Arctic Circle.
Yes.
Okay.
And then we have Transformers Robo Rally, which Robo Rally is kind of a cute game where you're in mechs and you're like racing each other. And as you're racing each other, you're buying weapons, you're shooting at each other. So typically a recipe for, I think, would translate well for Transformers.
You know, speaking of the whole RPG thing, I'm really surprised I didn't hear anything about a new Star Wars RPG or anything. I know that they're wanting to change the system.
Here's the rumor. They're letting it go for one more year. So
Any particular reason?
they want to do it right.
Okay.
Yeah, Edge Studios is trying their damnedest to get all their ducks in the row because what is Edge Studios, ladies and gentlemen? The former RPG arm of Fantasy Flight.
Right. Yeah.
So
And I know people had issues with like the narrative dice. I don't mind them as much. I know that they came out with a conversion for a D20.
yeah,
So I'm curious to see if they end up just going with like a 5e, just general way
See,
of doing
but
things.
now more RPGs are starting to move away from the pure D20 system as well.
yeah. Ever since the debacle of last year.
Oh, yeah.
Well, now we have, so the Marvel RPG doesn't even run on D20s. It runs
No.
on
That's
D6s,
D6s, right?
Yeah.
Yes, it's referred to as the 616 system.
Which is a cool concept.
Yes, I thought that was cool.
Yes, it is.
Yeah. I like that idea.
Well, and then Transformers, My Little Pony, and G.I. Joe all run off of Essence 20, which, yes, is technically the D20 system. It's the D20 system, but with spice, is what I would call it.
Yes, it is.
Interesting.
Yeah, so instead of just rolling your D20, you know, like how in D&D below your stats you have the little score boosters beside it, so it's like +3,
Yeah.
+1. So it's that, but instead of those, it being a solid number, instead it's a dice. And it can go all the way up to a D12. So you're rolling your D20, but you're also rolling your D2, D4, D6 with it.
Interesting.
Yes, it is.
So moving forward from there, what was your afternoons and everything kind of looking like?
Oh, it was absolutely fun. I think I have made maybe about 30, 40 new friends.
Nice.
Yeah, simple because of the fact I went over to the Renegade game shop there and it was just phenomenal. Half of it was based from the cartoon shows like My Little Pony, G.I. Joe, Transformers, fill in the blank.
Oh yeah, that was really weird. It was like one side was all the Hasbro brand and all cartoony and bright, and then you walked around in a circle, and on the other side it was just World of Darkness.
Yes.
Interesting.
Yes, the latest iteration of Werewolf, the 5th edition,
Yes.
is out.
Okay.
Yes, but it also has a lot of controversy, simply because of the fact some werewolf fans that dates back all the way to the 1990s will not see maybe 2 new tribes that won't be in the Guru Nation anymore, namely the Stargazers and the Get of Fenris.
I don't play werewolf, but I'll take your word on it.
Okay, no problem.
Well, and there was also a surprising expansion to the World of Darkness as well in Hunter the Reckoning.
Oh yeah,
So Hunter the Reckoning is, you're basically just an average Joe on an average street that maybe saw something a little weird and now there's a body. And you don't think that thing that you saw was all that natural. And it turns out you're right. And
because
so...
it had fangs and it drank its blood, and then basically it's looking at you.
Or maybe
weird.
you were a farmer and you thought you saw a huge wolf going after your sheep, but then when you got your 12 gauge and shot that thing, it turned into a person.
That's messed up.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
So Hunter the Reckoning, you're kind of playing just average schmoes in the World of Darkness, just trying to survive, basically.
But what really made my fangs extend and made my drool just go into overdrive was the deluxe version of the Book of Nod. Now check,
Oh, yeah.
Now check this out, ladies and gentlemen. It's a crate,
Yep.
an actual wooden crate.
I remember seeing the picture and I was completely confused.
Oh, no. The picture doesn't do it justice.
It's-
That's why I was
Yeah.
confused.
You get a bas relief, an actual bas relief.
Okay.
You also get a lovely leather wrap. And inside that leather wrap is actual shall we say, parchments created by each of the vampiric antediluvians.
Okay.
Now, the antediluvians, dear friends, are the 12 founding fathers of each of the vampire clans, like Bruja, Shimize, Toreador, all of them. And then, on top of all that, you get the original copy of the Book of Nod. And but the price tag is a little much. It's like $200.
Well, that's not all you get
Wow.
with it. You get I believe it's a 2-scale vampire skull as well.
Yep.
You get
Wow.
2 statues with it. Actually, no, I think it's 4 statues you get with it.
4 statues representing Cain and the 3 other, I want to say the Methuselahs. The one that begat the 3 that begat the 12. That should be the reason why.
And you also get a very nice, I think it's bronze wax seal as
Yes.
well.
I wonder how long before people will start 3D printing it.
Oh, I want it.
Yeah.
I want it.
I know that we just recently, literally like not even 20 minutes ago, we're talking about printing the Dr. Fate helmet and stuff like that. So 3D printing is moving forward very quickly.
Yes, very, very quickly.
But that thing was absolutely gorgeous, though.
Mm-hmm.
In person, I was blown away by it.
Yeah, I was like, I want it now.
Yeah.
So after we scraped him off of the glass,
Oh, come on.
Yeah. So
Just
what was
one more minute.
Yeah. What was the most exciting thing that you each picked up? Because I know obviously you both showed up with, a rucksack, basically.
Well, let me put it to you this way.
Santa Claus's bag is not big enough for what they showed up with.
No. Okay, I did an estimate of what I spent. We're talking around $200 of what I spent in one night.
Okay, I was about to say, no, there's no way you didn't just spend $200.
$200.
Wow, that's actually really cheap.
Here's why. It's called gamer economics at a convention. Here's what you do. When you walk into a dealer's room, you're going to be bombarded with what they're going to sell you. Okay? Now, what you have beforehand in your hand is a list.
oh yeah,
And on that list is what you really want.
Yep, which is perfect.
Now, go follow that list. Don't go to one dealer and say, oh, I want 2 of those and 4 of those and 6 of those and 8 of those and 12 of those and put it in the SUV. No, you follow the list. Now, if I was to not have that list and have no discipline for myself, that $3,000 would be gone in about an hour.
So what did you do with the other $2,800?
Simple. I put it back in the bank.
Okay, gotcha.
there
Good
was
planning.
also. I remember there was also some things that you were looking at that were sold out of as well, and that happened to me too.
Oh, yeah.
Like Wrath and Glory, the Warhammer 40k RPG, that was sold out. You couldn't
Oh, that
get.
would have been cool.
I know you.
And the combat system alone is worth the money.
Wow, what is it?
Okay, Warhammer 40k Wrath and Glory. It is published by Crucible 7 out of the UK, and they got their license directly from Games Workshop.
Okay.
Now, having said all that, an RPG was devised simply for those who cannot afford the entire miniature system of Warhammer 40k.
Yeah, no shit.
This is why the role-playing game was created. Now, Crucible 7 is not done yet here. They not only created one RPG, they created 2.
Okay.
The second one is all about one thing: political intrigue in the Imperium.
Ooh, okay. I'm interested.
Oh yes, Holy Terra is ripe with, guess what?
Intrigue.
Oh yeah, he said, she said, and maybe the possibility of the Emperor rising from his golden throne.
Heresy.
You want to bet? Because the prophecy is coming true, ladies and gentlemen.
Does he have a text-to-speech device? Is my next question.
I think he does.
Oh, the God Emperor. If only he knew.
But no, I talked to Crucible 7. I talked to the publishers there, and they said all 400 copies of it sold out.
Wow. Well, I mean, if they only had 400 copies out of, what was the number, 75,000 people?
Yeah.
Yeah, I can't imagine that hanging out for more than
Yeah.
A
4
day.
minutes.
Now, the other RPG in which, dear listener, if you want a simple, direct to the point cyberpunk game, get Cyborg by Free League Publishing. It's only one book, it's huge, and believe you me, The rules are inserted inside of the art itself. You really have to read. Yeah, you really have to read into it. It is very loose. It's free, and basically the game master can establish any rule, and basically any gamer can actually read it and go. Yeah.
Okay, well, that's always nice.
Yes.
Considering a lot of these games are very much like you have to know it before you start.
Yeah. But with this, all you have to do is just read it and go.
Yeah. So what was the coolest piece that you picked up?
Oh, man.
I know
Probably
you had some
that.
Cobra dice, right?
Oh, man. I got the Cobra dice. I got the new Cobra Codex. I got the Cobra. See where this is going. The
Yeah. What
Cobra,
about-
the Cobra dice bag, you know.
So My Little Pony, got it.
No.
What about the Star Trek book that you picked up? You haven't
Oh, yeah,
talked
I
about
heard
that
something
yet.
about that. Some
Okay.
out-of-print stuff.
Yeah.
It is soon to be out of print, I come to discover. What this is, it's a leatherette cover. It is done magnificently by Modifius Game Studios.
It's gorgeous.
Yes, it comes in 2 special edition books. One is completely in Nova Blue, and it's gorgeous. It has the motif of the original Star Trek The Next Generation.
Ooh.
Yeah. And the other one is all white. It's a leatherette cover. It has all the motifs of Star Trek The Original Series.
And folks, we do have a pretty high production value Star Trek video. We're in the process of scripting it and all that kind of stuff, building the production, and then that will also come out next week. So for our Star Trek fans, we got you. Just give us a little bit of time.
Now, this is the title called the Utopia Planitia Starfleet Sourcebook. It incorporates you as a player or game master. You can incorporate elements of Star Trek Online into pen and paper RPG.
Wow.
Yeah, you can create your own ships. You can create your own special forces. You can create fill in the blank for Starfleet.
That sounds fun.
Oh, yeah.
Star Queen, what was some of the stuff that you picked up?
Ooh, my horde.
Like, give me like the 2 best things that you feel like you picked up this year.
2 best things I feel like I picked up was probably, I would say Clash of the Combiners, because again, that was a huge surprise.
Oh, yeah.
I was planning on pre-ordering it anyway, so imagine seeing the thing that you've been eyeing online that says unsure of release date or will release in winter, no date, and suddenly it's in front of you there and you can touch it. That was a big surprise, and on top of that, getting a promo pack with it as well. And I would say though, my coolest pickup was probably Decepticon Directive, actually. Which is the Decepticon sourcebook for Transformers.
Oh, yes.
Which this thing has been a long time coming and was actually, I think, a big reason why so many people didn't pick up the core book originally, because a lot of people were like, well, I just want to play a Decepticon. Can I do that? And they said, yes, give us time. The cons need their own book. And after skimming the con book as well, now they're talking about Predacons and Maximals. So I'm thinking the Beast Wars stuff is probably going to come next.
Oh, I can't wait
Interesting.
to see that.
And I also know from just talking to people there that combiner rules are in progress. And let's just say they're alluding to your party not having to consent to be a combiner. So if you have a loot goblin in your party, for example, or somebody who really can't keep their hands to themselves when it comes to shiny objects,
Shiny.
Just magnetize them to your side.
more like there's a special MacGuffin in Transformers that if you touch it, congratulations, you now have a personality living in the back of your head,
Oh, wow.
of all of your heads.
Oh, shit.
You can hear each other's thoughts,
Oh, that's awful.
and you can combine into a big robot so long as you all work together with teamwork.
Oh, boy.
However, if you're in a group like we all are for Mr. Redemus's Star Wars game, where we like to act like a herd of cats sometimes,
If you want to call it that, sure. Love
Yes.
cats, yes.
Yes.
then you can see how shenanigans can arise from that.
Yeah.
And every time I've also seen people who have said online, oh, I really wish I had this. Oh, why can't the PDF come out already? And I'm just sitting here like, in my corner like the little loot goblin I am.
Yeah, because you already knew.
Well, I think the one thing I'm disappointed I didn't pick up actually was new dice. There was a lot of gorgeous dice there.
There was ton of dice, and
I'm really surprised we didn't have a collection at this point.
well,
Yeah.
put it to you this way: there was like 4 different places where Chessex set up
Yes.
shop.
Yep. In case anybody didn't know, Chessex, which is, the manufacturer of a lot of those smaller dice, bigger dice, the different colors and all that kind of stuff, they are based out of Indiana.
Yes.
So support local.
Oh yeah.
I saw a D20 made out of other D20s.
I did see that too, yeah. There was a pretty big picture going around.
There was that. There was gemstone dice, all kinds of metal dice.
I
I
saw dice made of solid steel.
Yes. And there was bone dice, a lot of bone dice.
That
Bone
was
dice is pretty
odd.
popular.
Yeah, which I don't know how I feel about that quite yet.
And that's the same thing of runes
Yeah.
type thing. They made them out of bone and all this kind of thing.
I have no problem with runes at all, simply because some people put it in their craft. But the thing is, you want to roll a d20. You don't know if you want to roll grandma's femur.
Well, what's that old song? There's such and such amount of bones in the body. Some of them gotta roll.
I think one of the coolest things about Gen Con though, and this wasn't even planned, this was just kind of on the fly. So there was a lot of LARP gear there. There was about 4 LARP shops. There was like Dark Knight Armory, there was Medieval Collectibles.
Dark Knight is also local.
There was just all kinds of like artisans and like independent people who were making dresses, wigs, felted hats that were made by hand.
I almost blew $400 to get that one hat.
Yep, you did. It was a good looking hat, to be fair.
Yeah, I'm going to go back there and get that hat. It's
was real leather, wasn't
gorgeous.
it?
Yes,
Yeah.
it was.
And in the hallways, just on passing sometimes, there would be just groups of in character, in full costume, LARP bards. Sometimes there were full bands.
Yeah, because we talked about that a little bit on the last episode as well.
Yeah, I just thought that was really cool.
Yeah. So, well, that's awesome. I'm glad you guys had a really good time.
Thank you,
I know
sir.
that we didn't get a chance to talk about every little detail at that
No.
point, but August has been a very, very, very busy month.
Oh, yes.
So, Lovecraft, you got to go see Amon Amarth with Ghosts last week, right?
Oh, it was. Yes, it was.
Yeah, so that was fun. That's a good concert.
You couldn't get any better than the heavy metal show I've been to.
Yeah. And then this month has been extremely busy with movies.
Oh,
Yes, it has been.
Yeah. So we saw Barbie.
We saw
finally.
Barbie, we saw Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles.
Yeah, Mutants Mayhem, which was phenomenal.
We
If
saw
you guys
Gran
haven't seen it.
Turismo.
Gran Turismo, that's a huge win for gamers because that was a Japanese racing simulator game that's become extremely popular from the PlayStation 1 up to now.
Also, not what I'd expect from a Neil Blomkamp movie either.
Oh no. Yeah,
No.
completely like left field. And it felt like you were playing Gran Turismo. I think that was my favorite part. Plus Orlando Bloom and a couple other people in there. And again, if you don't know the story of Gran Turismo, it's based on a British kid that basically loved Gran Turismo as a game, and he played it so much that he basically got in the drawing from Nissan to become a driver
Oh, wow.
for them. Yeah. And so he beat out like the best drivers on the game and all that kind of stuff, and was able to take his knowledge of this extremely up-to-date racing simulating game and used it. And he went podium over at Le Mans. So if anybody is familiar with 24-hour Le Mans,
Yeah.
that's a big deal,
Yeah.
especially in racing. If you become, and just a quote from the movie, if you get podium at Le Mans, you're a god.
You're a
at
god.
that point. Yeah.
You're a god.
So yeah, big winning for gamers, and then obviously the white horse or white elephant in the room, Ahsoka.
Oh, man. I thought to myself, did Lucasfilm resurrect Akira Kurosawa for this? I mean,
Yeah.
it had the look of it. It had the feel of a Kurosawa film. I was like, it pulled me in, and I was like, this make all samurai movies look just blah. You know?
Also, as people are pointing out, this is the first thing ever that we've really had in Star Wars where the cast so far is all female.
Yep.
I've noticed that too.
Yeah, it seems like everybody's kind of following the same track right now. We're starting to show off a lot more female talent, which is great.
Yeah, finally.
Seems like it was a missing key to a lot of things.
Yeah. And it was like, okay, this is good. I want more.
Yeah.
That was the only takeaway I could watch from Ahsoka. It was like, I want more.
Yeah, well, my problem is I love Rosario Dawson,
Oh,
but
me
I love
too.
her because of Clerks too.
That's right.
And it probably wasn't a good idea to watch that first and then go watch Ahsoka, because I'm thinking of the Donkey Show in that, and then immediately seeing her completely straight faced, like ready to just cut a droid apart. And those two did not go together.
Well,
It's also really weird to think about that Mary Elizabeth Winstead, the person who's playing Hera, is also married to Ewan McGregor.
Oh yeah. Yeah, that's actually pretty exciting too. Well, and they've been attached every bit of Star Wars at this point.
Yep.
Obi-Wan's daughter was the random homeless kid that was selling spice in the street in Obi-Wan. Or Kenobi. But yeah, I like the show. I think it's great. The first two episodes were probably the longest in a Star Wars show so far.
well, because have you ever seen Kurosawa's films like Seven Samurai
Oh, yeah.
or Ron, or it always has this suspension of disbelief behind them, but you knew this thing did happen.
Yep.
With Ahsoka, it's the opposite. It has that suspension of disbelief, but it makes you believe these things did happen.
Yeah, and I'm not sure if it actually is true or not, but at least in that first scene, it brought back a lot of the old school Lucasisms, right?
Yeah.
So using those real models, shooting the ship coming in.
Mm-hmm.
And in case you guys haven't seen it yet, it's not necessarily in spoiler territory, but it felt like in that first scene, kind of revisiting episode 1 a little bit.
Especially when the blockade runner is being chased by the big old Star Destroyer.
Yeah, a little
Yep.
bit. Yeah. And then the Jedi entering the ship and those kind of things. So
Yeah, it was kind of an homage when you look at it from not only from the first part of the trilogy, but also the second part of the trilogy.
right. Yep, absolutely. And of course, Star Queen making me laugh because this was a joke we talked about, I don't know, like 6 months ago. One of the returning characters is in there. He does the voice of, I forget the name of the actual Rebel character.
So
But
his name is Clancy Brown. He's a voice actor. He's in Rebels as a senator. He's back in Ahsoka as a senator. He's done a few other
he's the
voices as
same
well.
character he was in Rebels. So
But you might know him better as the voice of Mr. Krabs on
Yeah.
SpongeBob. And Redemus and I have a joke about the Empire coming to take Mr. Krabs' money
yeah, well,
because he
and-
wasn't paying his taxes.
And that comes back to me too, because obviously if you know him, you also know him from like Starship Troopers. He was the cadet guy or the training guy in the bit.
The
He was also-
from Highlander.
Yeah.
He was
Oh,
also
yeah, that's
in.
too.
He was also in Detroit Become Human. If you ever played that
Yeah.
game,
Yeah. He's very, very popular in the voice acting game and all that stuff. But yeah,
Oh, yeah.
obviously Mr. Krabs is the big thing.
Yes.
But when she first told me that was the same guy, that's when it was the joke of SpongeBob, they're coming for me money. The Empire's coming for me money, SpongeBob. They want my secret formula. I haven't paid my taxes in years.
Good luck with that, Mr. Krabs.
Like every time I heard his voice for the longest time, it was just, they're coming for me money, SpongeBob.
SpongeBob, they're coming for money.
Yeah.
The Empire, they're here.
Yeah. So, Lovecraft, obviously you didn't get to see the second episode yet, but
Not
I
yet.
think you're going to enjoy it just because of the story moving and all those kind of things. Now, I know, Star Queen, you've had not necessarily second thoughts, but a different viewpoint.
Yeah, so I didn't really vibe that much with Rebels as a show, and I think it's leaning heavily on it to the point where I think it's almost kind of a detriment to it, because I feel like if you didn't watch that show, you might not have a clue what's going on. And I don't really feel like, unless something is a direct sequel, so say, episode 1, episode 2, episode 3 type deal, that a media property should be able to stand on its own and you should be okay.
Yes.
Sure. And I mean, look at Andor, for instance.
Yes, like Andor stood on its own, was perfectly fine, and actually better than perfectly fine. It was great, and I think that's also my issue as well. Is Andor was so good, and Mando season 3 was so mid.
Yeah.
To the point now where I'm like, I don't feel like this is your A game because I've seen your A game and it's amazing.
Yeah, that has become a big topic among like Star Wars fans right now. So.
Yeah.
And I just felt the acting was a little stiff, for my opinion. It kind of felt like the actors didn't really know how to interact with each other just yet, which is really weird because Rosario Dawson has played Ahsoka for a little while now.
Well, she has, but if you think about it, that's the first time we've seen Sabine Wren live action. And there is tension. I mean, there is tension between the two.
But then
I have to say this as a actor myself. There's a difference between fluid acting, fluid chemistry, like what you saw in 1977, in comparison to the tension of what goes on in Star Wars 2023.
Oh, yeah.
You know, because you feel this buildup. What is this buildup coming from?
Yes,
You know?
that is a big thing with both Disney, Star Wars, Marvel. We're in the period of buildup.
Mm-hmm.
Well, and then there was also just some creative choices I thought were kind of weird, like the Night Sister lady.
Which that is a spoiler, by the way, in case we're not going to tell you who it is, but that was a left field choice.
Because the problem is we have known Night Sisters have a very distinct look in Star Wars.
They do.
They have pale white skin, they have pale white hair, typically face tattoos.
She does have the face tattoo, which I didn't even
I
almost
didn't even
missed
catch either.
I
It's
almost missed it.
It's so barely there, especially compared to, Ventress or especially Merrin.
Oh, yeah.
And with how pale those two are as well, I kind of thought she was just a random lady.
Yeah, well, somebody that, fought for the Empire. Because even when they did, I don't remember in Mando season 2 even seeing the tattoos on her.
I didn't
they were
either.
back-to-back face, face to
Yeah.
face.
And then I just kind of had me thinking, okay, so if this lady is that close to Thrawn, did Thrawn just have a random Night Sister on payroll on the Empire? Because...
And that's what's creating a lot of confusion right now because, one, that makes me think, okay, Timothy Zahn's got a new Thrawn book hidden somewhere or it's connected in some other weird story that we don't know about.
Yeah, because when you think about the mythology, weren't the Night Sisters kind of got axed by the Sith?
They got axed by Grievous and Count Dooku,
Yeah.
So it was the Sith.
Yeah. So
Yeah, and as so far, the only two that we knew survived was Ventress, who was killed off towards the end of the Clone Wars.
and that was only in a book.
That was in a book, yeah, which was supposed to be an episode of the Clone Wars, but it never happened.
Yeah, which sucks. It would have been good.
Yeah, and obviously Merrin from the Jedi
Fallen
Survivor and
Order,
Fallen
Jedi
Order.
Survivor, yeah. Which her actress is incredible.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, she's gorgeous as a human being, but her acting is just amazing.
Yeah.
She makes you feel something for an alien character that you've never seen before.
A very bitter alien character.
Yeah, I mean her whole entire, sisters were just annihilated.
And she goes, I'm a survivor.
Yeah.
Well, and also thinking back, she would have been about actually less than Cal's age when that happened to her. So she's been on her own for some time, and then all she knew for the longest time was this creepy Jedi weirdo who was like, "Hey, I want to get to know ya."
Well, that's the thing though. I don't remember,
baby.
Yeah, I
Hey,
don't
baby.
remember that even necessarily happening, but I'm not saying it didn't happen.
I do remember that boss fight being annoying though.
Oh yeah, well that frog can,
Well, not
shove
that
it.
frog. Taron Malicos was the
Oh yeah,
that
him
guy.
too, Malicos.
They,
True.
God, talk about a death.
Oh god,
Just getting buried
ew.
in concrete alive.
Yeah. By Night Sister.
Night Sister powers.
Magic.
That's crazy.
Well, with one of the other things I had an issue with as well is so in the original Rebels, and I didn't really like Sabine as a character. Now, granted, a lot of people were like, okay, she's 16, she's temperamental, she's not gonna make the best decisions because she's a dumb kid. Okay, fine, got it.
Also Mando too.
Fast forward a couple of years, she's still acting like that. after all that's happened, and like just something in that episode, there is a decision that she makes at one point because Ahsoka makes a request of her. The request is sound, all circumstances given, but then she goes and does it anyway, and that kind of felt like, okay, well, Sabine has to act out and do this stupid decision for the sake of the plot, because if we don't, then we don't have a plot. So
I wouldn't say it's a factor of they didn't have a plot. I think that it was just kind of a poor, weak choice for moving forward. They had more than enough, but
They had more than enough material, but they didn't act on it yet.
yeah, there are certain parts too. I've noticed that they are floating on the ending, quote unquote, at season 6 of the Clone Wars,
yes.
especially for Ahsoka. And they obviously touched on season 7 very heavily,
Yeah.
but I didn't see any essence of that.
No, and again, to this day, season 7 of Clone Wars is the only thing that has made me cry.
Well, that was strong. I mean,
Yeah.
the ending itself was very strong.
Yeah.
Yes. And I think that was also where Rebels suffered as well, because you can tell the exact moment that season 7 got
Oh yeah,
greenlit.
Dave Filoni got the green light. Boom, he's done.
He's like, okay, you know what? I'm done. Space Whales time travel, boom. There we go.
Yeah.
Yep. Moving on.
Yeah, moving on. How does Ahsoka live? Time travel, I guess. What? Time travel is canon in Star Wars now?
No,
Hey,
no,
let's steal a page from Star Trek.
that wouldn't be the first time.
We're gonna Back to the Future this.
Yeah.
Yeah. Call the lawyers.
So, but so far, obviously with the build-up, I like it. I like it
Yes.
for the simple fact it does feel more Kurosawa. It's the build-up. It's slow. It's, I don't want to say monotony. Like
It's not so much monotony. You have to have a build-up for the conflict.
Right.
Because you want to have this rev up and then boom, here's the violence.
My one hang up though is Ahsoka only has 8 episodes. So each of these
Yes.
episodes need to be that 56. Yeah, it needs to
Yeah.
be about that hour long, build up in order to get that point. Because obviously, Mads Mikkelsen, Lars Mikkelsen, the actual voice of Thrawn, is live action Thrawn. So it's going to be a big reveal.
Because I like Thrawn.
He is my favorite character.
I hope it's not just gonna be like a one and done episode type of deal for him.
I don't
Like-
think it was.
I hope not.
He has to.
not.
Yeah, he has to control at least 3 or 4 episodes.
Well, and we actually,
And we're already 2 episodes in.
I am actually really interested in those new dark side Jedi characters that they introduced.
That's my selling point on this
The
so
Dark
far.
Jedi.
I like Ahsoka. I love Rosario Dawson as Ahsoka. I think she's great. She looks amazing in live action. But my thing is, I'm actually more interested in the Sith in this version.
Yeah.
So it's not necessarily like in the Rebels or, the Rebels are okay. They are what they are. Obviously, they're just retelling the Rebel stuff. So you don't have to necessarily go watch it, but they're hinting you should watch it.
Hera is absolutely the glue of the Rebel Alliance at this point.
Yeah.
I'm convinced of it. There is a line that she drops in episode 2 where, slight spoilers for episode 2, they're checking out a shipyard that used to be an Imperial shipyard.
Yeah.
And she was like, okay, well, this used to be an Imperial shipyard. And they're like, yeah, they're making stuff for the New Republic now. And she said, well, how do they know that they're still not making Imperial stuff? Did anybody check on that?
Yeah, that
And-
was kind of a, wait a minute.
Well, and then it just clicked in my head of, oh my god, Hera just spelled out what the downfall of the New Republic was in a single line. Did anybody check that?
Yeah. Yeah, that's
No one
that's
did.
a thing. So
How the First Order came about, people, you got to double check your work.
that's true, and obviously the Rebels don't.
Yes, the New Republic didn't, and they all got destroyed.
Yes.
Wah, wah, wah.
Yeah, but speaking of double checking your work, let's talk about 11 years later double checking your work, because we got Armored Core 6 Fires of Rubicon. And for those that don't know what Armored Core is a third-person shooter mecha video game series developed by From Software. These guys are also known for...
Dark Souls, Bloodborne, Elden Ring most recently.
Yes, and so if you are not a huge fan of that combat system, it's not necessarily like those, but it is. So be prepared to be punished.
Yeah, Mr. Redemus was playing that game from, I believe, 8 o'clock at night to 2 a.m. in the morning. last
Yeah.
night,
Yeah, it was
trying
tough.
to beat one boss.
And I'm not by any way, shape, or form a fan of FromSoft, but I grew up with Armored Core. Like that was like my big thing for mechs, right? It was Gundam and it was Armored Core.
Right.
Because it's pretty much all we had in the 90s as far as like good video games.
Well,
And-
mech video games.
Well, mech video. Yeah, sorry. Let's preface.
Yes, good video games in the 90s. I'm
There's
fairly sure there was a
tons.
lot.
Oh, there's tons. No, mech, mech video games. I mean, you had Gundam Zeonic Front, Earth Federation
Yeah.
vs. Zeon, Journey to Jaburo, and those kind of things. But something outside of Gundam, we'll put it that way. But this one is basically it takes place as the series centers on a silent protagonist who works as a mercenary pilot in the far future, operating large robot combat units known as armored cores. And it's still reminiscent of the old ones, especially the one back in 2012, where it's a lot of briefing over holograms type thing, telling you what you need to do, not necessarily giving you real characters to interact with and all those kind of things, because technically you are the character as the armored core,
Right.
since you're basically a detailed cyborg that's connected to these ACs is what they're referred to as.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. And so far, Rubicon is a area in the world of Armored Core that is under a lot of conflict. You may have stopped me if you've heard this before. It is basically controlled by 4 to 5 different manufacturing companies that are basically fighting for dominance. Yeah. Hashtag Tekken, hashtag aliens, hashtag, all those different ones. So not necessarily the story is original, but so far I'm really enjoying it, even though, like I said, it will punish you if you do not have the right parts in your AC. So something to take into, consideration if you're going to play this game. I recommend it, but be prepared.
Speaking of video games, since Gamescom is currently going on right
yes,
now,
Gamescom's going on.
there was a little interesting story that came out of the Epic Games booth. So I know not everybody at this table plays Fortnite. I do, however. And listener, if you have played Fortnite on zero build mode, if you killed a Mr. Meeseek skin, there is a not 0% chance you might have killed Zack Snyder.
Whoops.
What?
Yeah, so Zack Snyder was attending Gamescom, as a couple other celebrities were as well, and he revealed over at the Epic Games booth that he is actually an avid Fortnite player.
That's hysterical.
And he always plays zero build, and he always plays with the Mr. Meeseek's Rick and Morty skin.
Wow, that's awesome.
So
Look at me. I'm
look
Zack
at
Snyder.
me. So if you have played zero build and you killed a Mr. Meeseek skin at this point, which I've killed a couple myself, there is a not 0% chance you killed Zack Snyder.
Wow, that's pretty cool.
Yeah.
Well, because
Is it with or without the body bag? I mean,
Yes.
I don't have to shovel it dirt or why cool.
Well, the reason why one of the reporters asked him, like, why Fortnite of all games? It's because the game can literally be played on anything at this point. PC,
Mobile
Xbox, mobile phone, literally anything. And he wanted a way to connect with his kids while he was away on those working on big movies.
Yep.
And so they were like, well, play video games with us, Daddy. And he was like, okay, what do you want me to play? And they're like, let's play Fortnite together. And he was like, okay. But then he went down the rabbit hole and now he's an avid Fortnite player.
Yeah. Well, there's a certain family member that may or may not be attached to Lucasfilm that unfortunately avidly plays it as well with his granddaughter.
Oh.
So, you may be killing a Star Wars person.
Yeah.
Sorry,
that's
not
gonna be
sorry.
awkward.
Sorry, not sorry. I'm not a Fortnite player.
Right.
So, well, yeah, there was so much exciting stuff going on in August, and I can't wait moving forward with the show to catch up again on movies, video games. We've got a lot of things coming up here soon that we're going to be slowly revealing as we basically move forward. You guys will definitely get more LARP vlogs. You'll get more just general vlogs and a lot more gameplays. If you hadn't had a chance to, check us out on YouTube Gaming and Twitch.com.
Yes, and-
Twitch.tv.
Yes, and even more interesting news from the World of Darkness LARP as well, coming soon to a game store near you.
Yeah. So lots of big stuff. I know we're working on some new designers And, big shout out to Raz Photography for doing a lot of this updating and editing and all those kind of things.
Yes.
Adam, you're a saint. Thank you for making the episodes sound amazing.
You are awesome. Stay awesome. Be awesome.
Yes. And with that being said, ladies and gentlemen, thank you so much for tuning in. Let us know what your favorite game was from Gen Con or RPG, whatever. Let us know what your favorite movie was this month. Did you go see movies? And make sure to drop a comment down below. Make sure to hit that like, subscribe button because it does actually help the channel. And we do see you guys. You guys are awesome. We're trying right now to hit at least 100 followers and subscribers.
Please join us.
Yeah, join us on this awesome adventure. But until next time, ladies and gentlemen, make sure to put that coin in the slot, hit that power button, roll for initiative, and we'll see you next time.
Laters.
Bye.